They can't sleep. They can't think straight. Their mind won't stop replaying the moments when they underestimated you. They told themselves you'd never make it without them, that you'd fall apart the moment they left. But now the tables have turned, and the truth is suffocating them. They're having a panic attack over you, not because you hurt them, but because your silence, your growth, and your peace are louder than their lies ever were. You became the proof that they were wrong. And nothing terrifies a guilty soul more than the sight of the person they tried to destroy standing taller than ever. They thought walking away would break you. They thought betraying you would silence you. But instead, it set you free. You took that pain and turned it into fuel. You used every disappointment as motivation, every insult as inspiration. You learned to rebuild yourself piece by piece until the person in the mirror was unrecognizable. Now, your strength has become their nightmare. Your peace exposes their chaos. Every time they see you rise, their chest tightens, their breath shortens, and their mind races with regret. They are haunted by the very person they once dismissed. You see, it's not just your success that's shaking them. It's your composure, the way you walk without bitterness, the way you speak with calmness, the way you refuse to mention their name while they can't stop mentioning yours. They expected revenge, but you gave them indifference, and that indifference is cutting deeper than any words ever could. They don't understand how you moved on, how you're glowing after everything they did to dim your light. The guilt sits heavy on their chest because, deep down, they know they created the very storm that now keeps them awake at night. They're having a panic attack because the truth they tried to bury has resurrected. Every rumor, every lie, every attempt to tear you down has backfired. People are beginning to see who you truly are and who they truly were. The image they built to destroy your reputation is now crumbling under the weight of your consistency and grace. They can't handle the fact that God turned what was meant to harm you into the reason you're thriving. You didn't need to expose them. Life did it for you. You didn't need to fight back. Your peace fought for you. Their heart races when your name comes up, not because of love, but because of fear. Fear that you've become untouchable, unstoppable, unshakable. They sense something divine protecting you, something beyond their understanding. They can feel that your favor is not man-made, it's heaven-sent. And that realization alone is driving them mad. How could the person they tried to humiliate be the one walking in blessings they can't explain? How could the one they counted out be the one God chose to elevate? Their panic comes from powerlessness. They once controlled the narrative, manipulated the story, and played the victim, but now they've lost that power. Your existence, your peace, your growth, it's a mirror reflecting their ugliness back to them. They're seeing the truth for the first time, and it's unbearable. They want to erase the past, undo their choices, take back their words, but it's too late. The damage they caused has become their lesson, and the peace you found has become their punishment. They're restless not because of what you did, but because of what you became. You became everything they said you wouldn't. You succeeded quietly while they waited for your downfall loudly. They can't breathe in the same air where your name is spoken with respect. They can't stand seeing you smile, knowing it was their betrayal that taught you how to find joy without depending on anyone. Every beat of your progress makes their heart race faster. Every victory you claim sends shockwaves through their conscience. They can't escape it because the truth has no mercy when it finally shows its face. Their panic isn't random. It's divine justice unfolding. God saw what they did behind your back, and now He's making sure they feel the weight of it. The same hands that tried to wound you are trembling with regret. The same mouth that tried to curse you is silenced by shame. They're not just panicking over your success. They're panicking because they realize they lost access to something pure, something rare, you. They didn't just lose a person. They lost peace, loyalty, and genuine love. And now, no matter how far they run, that truth follows them like a shadow. They're having a panic attack over you because your peace became their punishment, your silence became their echo, and your glow became the proof that God was on your side all along. They expected you to crumble. They thought the silence that followed their betrayal would consume you, that your nights would be filled with tears and your days with despair. But instead you found peace, a peace they never saw coming. And that peace, that quiet, unshakable stillness, has now become their worst punishment. You see, your peace isn't ordinary. It's the kind that only comes after surviving storms meant to destroy you. It's the peace that comes from surrendering your pain to God, trusting that He saw every hidden wound, every whispered lie, every manipulation they used against you. Your peace has power. It's unsettling to those who expected you to lose your mind. They don't understand how someone who was broken now walks with such grace. It confuses them, it haunts them, and it exposes them. When they see you smiling without bitterness, when they notice you glowing without seeking revenge, something inside them begins to tremble. Because peace in the hands of the wounded is the greatest form of strength that tells the world that pain did not win, that darkness could not keep you down. And that is what eats at them. They see the strength they never had reflected in the person they tried to destroy. They wanted chaos to follow you, but all they see now is calm. You no longer react to their words, their gossip, or their attempts to provoke you. You've learned that silence speaks louder than anger, and peace protects better than vengeance. Every time you ignore what used to disturb you, they lose a bit more of their control. That's what makes them panic, because your peace proves that they no longer have power over you. You've taken back what they stole, your focus, your joy, your inner stability. You're not fighting anymore, you're glowing, and that glow is what burns them most. They expected to see you collapse, but they're witnessing a resurrection. What they can't comprehend is that peace doesn't mean you forgot the pain. It means you rose above it. They're left wondering how you managed to stand after everything they did, and that question keeps echoing in their mind. Every time they see your face, it reminds them of their failure, not your failure, theirs, because the peace you carry now is proof that their efforts to destroy you only pushed you closer to God, and that realization stings. There's something divine about the way peace punishes the guilty. It's silent, but it screams in their conscience. It doesn't argue, it doesn't accuse, but it leaves them restless. They thought they could find comfort in your suffering, but instead they're tormented by your healing. While they replay old memories trying to justify what they did, you've already moved beyond them. You've found peace not just in letting go of them, but in forgiving them. And that forgiveness, that spiritual maturity, is something they'll never understand. Because forgiveness frees you, but it traps the guilty in a mirror they can't escape from. Every time they see you happy, it feels like punishment, because they know they don't deserve to witness your light after trying so hard to dim it. They can't stand the way your name is spoken with respect now. They can't stand that others are beginning to see what they once tried to hide, that you were always genuine, always real, always kind. And nothing terrifies a guilty heart more than seeing the person they mistreated still walking in grace. Your peace is divine proof that justice doesn't always arrive loudly. It arrives quietly, through the transformation of the one who suffered. You became living evidence that God restores what was broken and multiplies what was lost. You no longer need to prove yourself because your peace proves everything. It speaks of lessons learned, faith strengthened, and pain transformed into wisdom, and that's something they can't mimic. no matter how hard they try. They are having panic attacks not because you fought them, but because you didn't. You walked away. You protected your energy. You refused to engage in their chaos, and now they're forced to sit in the silence they once mocked you for. Your peace is haunting them because it represents everything they lack: self-control, faith, emotional maturity, and divine protection. They can't find peace because they tried to steal yours. They can't rest because they disturbed yours. That's the paradox of divine justice. It doesn't always come in thunder and fire. Sometimes it comes in the form of your peace. While they lie awake at night wondering how you healed, you're sleeping soundly, knowing that God handled what you couldn't. They can feel the weight of their actions pressing on their chest every time they think of you. You're not in their life anymore, but you live rent-free in their conscience. Your peace became their punishment, because it reminded them that they couldn't break you, no matter how hard they tried. And now, every breath of calm you take is a reminder that the one they tried to destroy has become untouchable. They see your growth and it terrifies them. Every step you take forward, every smile you wear after everything they did feels like a blow to their pride. Because your growth exposes their guilt. It holds up a mirror they can't turn away from, a reflection of who they really were when they tried to break someone who meant them no harm. They can't pretend anymore. The truth has a way of rising, and your evolution has become the loudest evidence of their failure. You didn't have to call them out or tell your side of the story. Your life became the proof. You became the living contradiction to the lies they spread. They called you weak, but you became stronger than ever. They called you lost, but you found your purpose. They said you wouldn't make it, and now every achievement you've earned screams the truth they tried to silence. That's why they're restless. They can't look at you without feeling a pang of shame, because your growth makes them relive the moments they betrayed, mocked, or dismissed you. They remember the words they said to tear you down, and now they see you building a life those same words could never touch. It's not just guilt they feel, it's fear. Fear of being exposed by the light that shines from the person they once threw into darkness. Growth is a silent kind of revenge. You didn't fight back with words or anger, you simply became better. You learned, you healed, you rose. And that's what makes them panic. They can't understand how you kept moving forward when they did everything to stop you. They thought their betrayal would paralyze you, but instead, it became the very fuel that pushed you further than you ever imagined. Your scars became your strength, your pain became your motivation, and your wounds became the foundation of your wisdom. They tried to bury you, but they didn't realize you were a seed. Now your growth stands as undeniable proof that they were the ones who were small. Their actions, once meant to humiliate you, now make them look foolish. Every time they see you glowing, a quiet voice inside whispers, "You did that to them." And still they rose. That whisper won't stop. It echoes in their mind like a punishment. Because the truth about guilt is that it doesn't need witnesses. It lives in the heart of the one who caused harm. They can try to act unfazed, pretend they've moved on, but deep down, every version of your success is a reminder that they failed to destroy what God was protecting. What's haunting them isn't just your success, it's your peace through that success. Because you didn't grow bitter. You didn't let their actions define you. You grew with grace. You forgave, not for them, but for yourself. You turned their betrayal into wisdom, and that wisdom became your power. They wanted you to lose yourself, but instead, you found your worth. That's what burns them the most. Your ability to turn pain into purpose is something they'll never understand because they've never faced their own demons long enough to heal from them. And now they're stuck. You outgrew them, not just emotionally but spiritually. You operate on a level where their manipulation can't reach you anymore. You don't engage in the same games. You don't respond to provocation. You've evolved into someone who walks in peace, and peace terrifies those who thrive on chaos. They can't touch you, and that distance reminds them every day of what they lost. The access to a pure soul that once cared deeply. They're not panicking because of your success alone. They're panicking because your growth is the evidence that they were never as powerful as they thought. It's the same pattern the universe always reveals. The truth will always rise through transformation. They tried to bury your truth under lies, but God used your pain to elevate you in front of the same people who doubted you. You didn't need revenge because your glow became the proof, and now they can't escape it. Every rumor they spread looks like a shadow next to your light. Every plan they made to ruin you looks childish next to the empire you're building in silence. They watch you from afar, scrolling, pretending not to care, but their chest tightens every time they see how far you've come. They're having a panic attack, not because you exposed them, but because your growth did. It's a living testimony that God defends the pure-hearted, that truth always surfaces, and that no amount of lies can bury divine favor. They used to mock your pain. Now they envy your peace. They used to laugh at your struggle. Now they can't breathe watching your rise. Your growth is their reminder that what they did will never go away. It's written in your success, carved in your strength, and reflected in your eyes every time you look unbothered. That's why they panic, because they know that no matter what they say or do, your existence has already revealed the truth they tried so hard to hide. They once controlled the story. They painted themselves as the victim, twisting facts and crafting lies to make you look like the villain. They whispered in corners, played innocent in public, and smiled in the faces of those they deceived. And for a while they succeeded. People believed their version because you stayed quiet. You chose peace over proving yourself. But now, your life, your actions, and your transformation have spoken for you. The truth has begun to surface, and with it their entire illusion is collapsing. They've lost control of the narrative, and that loss is driving them into panic. You see, liars live comfortably only when their lies go unchallenged. They feel powerful when they can manipulate perception, when they can dictate how others see you. But truth has a strange way of finding its way to the surface. It doesn't rush. It doesn't shout, but it arrives in divine timing, and when it does, it hits like thunder. Every calm, every quiet moment you endured was God's preparation for this unveiling. Your silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. It allowed time to expose what words couldn't, and now their mask is slipping. The charm they used to deceive is fading. People are starting to see through them, and the fear of exposure is eating them alive. They can't manipulate reality anymore because your growth has made their lies look foolish. Every success you achieve dismantles the false story they built about you. They said you were unstable, yet you're grounded. They said you were bitter, yet you're peaceful. They said you couldn't make it without them, yet you've thrived. That contradiction is what's making them unravel, because the moment truth enters the room, lies suffocate. And right now, the truth about you is too bright for them to hide from. They're panicking because they know people are talking. Not about you, but about them. The same ones they once convinced to doubt you are now watching their behavior, questioning their motives. The whispers they started have turned against them. The manipulation they use to control others' opinions has become transparent. They can feel the shift. Eyes that once looked at you with suspicion now look at them with confusion, and in that confusion lies their downfall. They're losing the one thing they always needed to survive: control over how others see them. You, on the other hand, never needed to defend yourself. You let your integrity speak. You let your consistency build a story they couldn't rewrite. That's the difference between the genuine and the deceitful. Truth doesn't need performance. It needs time. And now that time has arrived. The same audience they fooled is beginning to see that the one who stayed silent wasn't guilty. It was graceful. The one who walked away wasn't weak. It was wise. Every move you made in faith and patience has become a revelation of your character. You've won the one battle they never saw coming, the battle for credibility. Their panic is not just about exposure, it's about realization. They're realizing that the world they built on deceit is collapsing from within. They no longer have control over perception. The false sympathy they once received has turned into suspicion. People are remembering how much effort they put into discrediting you, and they're starting to question why. That question alone is enough to make a liar sweat, because when the truth starts connecting the dots, every manipulation becomes a confession. Now they're living in fear of the inevitable. They avoid eye contact, over-explain themselves, and grow defensive at the mention of your name. The guilt they tried to bury has begun to surface, not because you exposed them, but because life did. The divine has a way of balancing things. The same mouths that spoke against you are now forced to speak about you in awe. The same hands that pushed you down are watching you rise higher than they ever imagined. That's justice, not loud, not vengeful, but undeniable. They're realizing that controlling a narrative doesn't change the truth. The truth lives on, even when hidden. It breathes through your actions, your kindness, your success, your peace. It radiates from you now, and no rumor can silence it. You don't have to remind anyone of what happened. Your presence reminds them. Your energy speaks volumes. You've become a living contradiction to every lie told about you, and that contradiction is haunting them, because no matter how many stories they told, they can't rewrite what's real, you. And so they panic. They panic because the audience they once fooled now sees the truth. They panic because they realize that what they tried to destroy has become stronger than ever. And most of all, they panic because they understand now, truth doesn't need defenders. It only needs time, and your time finally has arrived. Every blessing you receive now feels like thunder to them. Every door that opens for you, every smile that grace brings to your face, shakes the foundation of their false confidence. Because your success triggers their regret. It doesn't just remind them of what you've achieved. It reminds them of what they threw away, what they mistreated, what they underestimated. They never thought they'd see you rise. They never believed you'd be able to smile again, let alone shine. But now, every victory you claim feels like divine payback, and it burns in their chest like a fire they can't put out. They thought they had you figured out. They thought your life depended on their presence, their validation, or their approval. When they walked away, they imagined you would crumble, that your identity would fall apart without them. But instead, you turned your pain into purpose. You turned every moment of rejection into a stepping stone. You built yourself in silence, prayed when no one was watching, worked when no one believed in you, and now the results are speaking for themselves. You've become everything they said you'd never be, and that realization is destroying their peace. Your success doesn't just bother them, it exposes their failure of discernment. They had access to you when you were still growing, still pure, still full of love and trust. They didn't recognize your value then, but now they see it shining so brightly it blinds them. They used to laugh at your dreams, now they're watching you live them. They used to gossip about your struggles, now they whisper about your blessings. They used to say you'd never move on, now they can't stop watching how well you did. That's what's tormenting them. not just your growth, but the fact that they were the ones who threw away the very person God was preparing to bless. Regret is a cruel companion. It doesn't knock politely. It invades their sleep, their peace, their thoughts. Every time they see your name, hear your voice, or catch a glimpse of your success, their heart sinks with the realization that they could have been part of your story. But instead, they became a warning in it. They thought they'd find joy in your absence, but life without your presence has become emptier than they expected. You were a light they took for granted, and now that the light shines elsewhere, they're left sitting in the dark with their own choices echoing back at them. They're panicking because your blessings are proof that God saw everything. You didn't have to seek revenge. He handled it. You didn't have to explain your pain. He turned it into power. Now your life is preaching a sermon they can't ignore. Every door opening for you feels like a reminder of the doors they slammed shut in your face. Every new opportunity feels like a replay of what they missed when they chose ego over loyalty. And the irony is, the same success they tried to block has become the very thing that exposes their wrongdoing. Your elevation feels like judgment to them, not because you're trying to show off, but because your blessings highlight their mistakes. When you walk in peace, they feel chaos. When you laugh freely, they feel the weight of their guilt. When people speak highly of you, they remember the lies they told. Your name has become a trigger for their regret, not because you did anything wrong, but because your presence now reminds them of everything they did wrong. You didn't chase success to prove them wrong. You chased purpose to prove God right. And yet, your success has done both. It's a reflection of divine justice, showing the world that the one they abandoned was the one heaven favored. Every move you make now is a message that no one can curse what God has chosen to bless, and they know it. That's why their stomach tightens when they hear about your progress. That's why they can't stand to see your light shine. It's not jealousy. It's regret turned into panic. They thought time would erase you, but instead, time has elevated you. They thought leaving you behind would make them feel powerful, but now, the further you rise, the smaller they feel, because the truth is they never wanted you to succeed without them. They wanted to be the reason you won, or the reason you failed. But now, seeing you win without them has destroyed the illusion of their importance in your life. You no longer orbit around their world, and that loss of control has them gasping for air. Their panic comes from the realization that they can't undo what's been done. They can't erase your progress, your peace, or your glow. They can't rewrite the story anymore because it's already being written by your success. You've become untouchable, not because you fought them, but because you outgrew them. And now, every blessing in your life feels like the universe whispering, "This is what happens when God vindicates the pure-hearted." So they sit in silence, watching the one they tried to break become unbreakable. They scroll through your wins, pretending not to care, but every victory is a reminder that they lost something priceless. A person whose love, loyalty, and light they'll never find again. Your success has become their mirror, and what they see in it is unbearable regret. And no matter how much they try to run from it, that truth follows them like a shadow they can never escape. They thought you'd come running back. They thought you'd beg for closure, plead for understanding, or chase their validation to feel whole again. But instead, you gave them something they didn't expect. You gave them indifference. And that indifference is what's haunting them now. It's louder than your anger, sharper than your words, and colder than your silence. Because nothing unsettles a manipulator more than realizing the person they once controlled no longer reacts. You became the peace they can't disturb, and that quiet strength is eating them alive. When you cared, they took advantage of your emotions. They knew how to push your buttons, how to trigger a reaction, how to keep you engaged in their chaos. They mistook your love for weakness, your patience for naivety, your forgiveness for blindness. They believed that no matter what they did, you'd always come back. But they never imagined the day you'd stop explaining, stop defending, stop giving them the power to affect you. The day you withdrew your energy was the day they lost control. That's when the panic began. Because now they're invisible to you, and that invisibility feels like punishment. You see, when you stop reacting, you remove the very fuel that feeds their ego. People who thrive on control hate silence. It forces them to face the emptiness within themselves. When you stopped arguing, they had no battle to win. When you stopped explaining, they had no lies to twist. When you stopped caring, they had no audience for their drama. You turned off the emotional switch, and now they're left alone in the darkness of their own conscience. Every time they try to provoke you and get nothing in return, it burns. Because indifference says what words never could, you no longer matter. They replay every moment when you used to care, wondering when exactly you detached. They send messages that you never answer. They check your social media, looking for signs of reaction, but you've mastered the art of peace. You've outgrown the need to prove your worth to people who never valued it. You no longer need closure because you've found it within yourself, and that is what terrifies them the most, that you're doing fine without them, that the storm they thought would destroy you only purified you. You didn't just survive, you evolved. And now they're panicking because they realize they can no longer affect your emotions. You've become emotionally bulletproof. Your indifference is divine armor. It's not coldness, it's clarity. It's the understanding that some people don't deserve access to your emotions. You learn that not everyone who touches your heart deserves to stay there. So you close the door quietly, without hate, without bitterness, without warning, and that silence now screams louder than any argument ever could, because while they were expecting you to fall apart, you were rebuilding yourself piece by piece, aligning with peace, choosing yourself. And now, the absence of your reaction is echoing through every space they enter. They feel your absence like a ghost that won't leave. They can sense that you've detached completely, that your soul has moved on. It's no longer about revenge, it's about freedom. You no longer crave an apology because you've accepted that peace is the only closure you need. Every time they see you unbothered, every time they hear your name mentioned in joy instead of pain, they're reminded of what they lost. The attention, the energy, the access to your emotion. Your indifference became their mirror, reflecting the emptiness they carry inside. And that's the irony. They tried to make you feel worthless, and now they're the ones questioning their worth. They used to feed on your reactions, but now their attempts fall flat. They can't get to you anymore. You've risen beyond the level of their chaos, beyond their reach. You've mastered emotional distance. And that's what terrifies them, because they realize now that they were never the center of your world. They were merely a lesson. When you stopped caring, you shifted the power dynamic forever. They can no longer use guilt, lies, or manipulation to pull you back. You stopped explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stopped seeking love from hearts incapable of giving it. And in that moment, something divine happened. You took your power back. That's why they panic now, because they feel powerless. They see you living, smiling, and shining without them, and it exposes how little they ever mattered to your destiny. Your indifference has become their torment. Every calm reaction, every quiet smile, every unbothered move you make is like salt in the wounds of their ego. You didn't have to destroy them. The truth is, they destroyed themselves when they lost your attention. You became everything they never thought you'd be, untouchable, healed, and free. And now the one who once played with your emotions is the one drowning in their own. They're panicking not because you hate them, but because you don't. Because hate still means you care, but indifference, that means it's over. That means they no longer have a place in your world. And for someone who once thrived on your energy, that realization feels like suffocation. They're having a panic attack, not over what you said, but over what you no longer feel. They thought the story was over. They thought they had written the final chapter of your downfall and closed the book on your future. But what they didn't know was that God was holding the pen all along. And he wasn't finished with you yet. While they celebrated your pain, God was preparing your comeback. And now, every blessing in your life stands as a living testimony that heaven turned the tables in your favor. That's what's making them panic, because they're watching the divine reversal unfold right before their eyes. The same hands that tried to push you down are now trembling as they see you lifted higher than they ever imagined. God's justice doesn't need your help. It moves quietly, perfectly, and powerfully. You didn't have to expose them. You didn't have to defend yourself. You didn't even have to wish them harm. The moment you let go and surrendered your pain to God, he began to work behind the scenes. While they were plotting against you, he was positioning you. While they were speaking against you, he was preparing people to speak for you. While they were closing doors, he was building new ones that no human hand could ever shut. And now, the tables have turned so dramatically that even they know this isn't luck, it's divine intervention. They're having a panic attack because they're witnessing the exact thing they thought would never happen. You rising from the ashes. Every time they see your name being spoken with respect, every time they see you walking in peace, they feel the weight of divine justice pressing on their conscience, because deep down they know they played their part in your suffering, and now the very pain they caused has become your testimony. God took what was meant to destroy you and used it as the foundation of your strength. That's why your peace bothers them so much. It's supernatural. It's the kind that only comes when heaven has vindicated your soul. They can't understand how everything turned in your favor after all that was done to break you. They thought your end would prove them right, but your comeback proved God right. That's what's making them spiral. They're realizing they weren't fighting against you, they were fighting against God's plan for you, and no one wins against divine purpose. Now their words are powerless, their schemes are exposed, and their reputation is cracking under the weight of truth. They're not just panicking over your rise, they're panicking because they feel the consequences of what they sowed. The same trap they set for you has become their own cage. When God steps in, the balance shifts instantly. He doesn't just restore what was lost, he multiplies it. You didn't just recover, you elevated. You didn't just survive, you thrived. You didn't just walk away, you walked into your destiny. And that's the part they can't handle. They see the favor on your life now, the glow, the grace, the opportunities, and it terrifies them because it reveals how powerless they truly were all along. They realize now that your strength didn't come from the world, it came from the one who controls it. And when God decides to favor someone, no enemy, no slander, no betrayal can stop it. Every blessing you receive is exposing their intentions. Every victory you achieve reminds them that God saw what they did. They're not panicking because you've changed. They're panicking because their lies no longer hold power over your destiny. They can't control how people see you anymore. They can't manipulate what God is manifesting for you. They're watching the reversal of everything they once celebrated. The pain they mocked has become your crown. The tears they caused have become your testimony. The silence they mistook for defeat has become your divine setup. And now they're left in confusion. They can't understand how peace followed you after betrayal, how joy found you after heartbreak, how favor chased you after rejection. That's the mystery of divine justice. It's not loud, but it's undeniable. God didn't just bless you to restore you. He blessed you to make a point that no one can curse what he has chosen to bless. Your rise isn't just personal, it's spiritual. It's a statement to every soul that doubted you, every voice that mocked you, every person who thought they could play with your destiny. They're panicking because they're realizing they didn't hurt you. They helped you. Every wound they inflicted became the soil where your purpose grew. Every betrayal pushed you closer to God. Every setback positioned you for something greater. What they meant for evil, God turned into the very reason for your elevation. And now they're the ones watching in disbelief as everything they tried to take from you comes back, multiplied. That's how God works. He doesn't always strike your enemies down. Sometimes he blesses you right in front of them. He lets them watch as you walk in the very peace they tried to destroy. And that's the panic they can't hide, the dread of realizing that God himself is defending you. Because when heaven fights for you, every lie falls apart, every curse returns to sender, and every injustice is rewritten in your favor. So now, while you rest in divine peace, they tremble in divine consequence. Your rise is their reminder that no betrayal goes unseen by God. Your blessings are living proof that he keeps his promises. And your peace is the loudest declaration that the tables have turned, and this time permanently in your favor. They are haunted not by your presence but by your absence, by the echo of what they lost and can never replace. They tell themselves they've moved on, that you didn't matter, that life is better without you, but every quiet moment betrays them, because deep down, they know they didn't just lose someone, they lost you. Someone rare, someone genuine, someone who loved purely, forgave freely, and gave more than they ever deserved, and now that loss is eating them alive. Their chest tightens at the thought of you, not from love, but from regret that arrives like a wave they can't escape. At first, they didn't notice the emptiness. They filled it with distractions, people, noise, anything to avoid confronting the truth. But no matter how much they try to fill the void, it keeps growing. Because you weren't just another person in their life, you were peace in human form. You were loyalty wrapped in warmth. You were the calm after their chaos. And now, that calm is gone. They can't find your energy in anyone else because your kind of love doesn't repeat. It was sacred, it was real, it was one of a kind. And now they're realizing that losing you wasn't just a temporary mistake. It was a permanent consequence. They're haunted by the memory of how easily you gave love, how patiently you understood, and how silently you endured what they didn't even bother to appreciate. You were the one who stood beside them when no one else would. You prayed for them when they mocked your faith. You saw potential in them when everyone else saw flaws. And instead of cherishing that light, they tried to dim it. Instead of protecting your heart, they bruised it. Now they replay those moments like scenes from a nightmare, knowing they can't undo what they did. Every time they see someone who resembles you, every time they hear your name or recall a memory, the weight of what they lost hits harder. The irony is that they wanted you to feel their absence, but now they're the ones gasping for the air your presence used to bring. They thought walking away would give them freedom, but they didn't realize freedom means nothing when it comes with regret. You became the quiet reminder of what purity feels like. something they can't find in shallow connections or temporary thrills. You were a soul that loved without agenda, and they treated that love like it was disposable. But divine justice has a way of turning neglect into regret, and now that's exactly what they live with. Every peaceful moment you enjoy now is a storm in their conscience. They're haunted by the fact that your life moved forward without them, that you didn't crumble when they left, that you didn't beg, chase, or explain. Instead, you healed, rebuilt, and glowed in silence. They see you walking in light, and it burns their darkness. They see you smiling, and it cuts through their guilt. You've become the evidence of what they could have had if they had chosen love over ego, truth over pride, and faithfulness over deceit. Now, every blessing you receive feels like a punishment to them, because they know those blessings could have been shared had they valued you when they had the chance. They can't stand the fact that you forgave them. Forgiveness sounds peaceful, but for the guilty, it's a mirror. It reflects everything they did wrong, without you saying a word. They expected hatred, but forgiveness made them confront their shame. They expected you to crumble, but instead you rose. And that rise has turned into their greatest torment. You see, they're haunted not just because of what they did, but because of what they lost. Access to a soul that genuinely cared. They're realizing too late that what they treated as ordinary was divine all along. And divine things, once lost, never return the same. Their panic comes from knowing they can't fix it. They can't apologize enough. They can't go back in time. They can't unsee your strength, your glow, your grace. The tables have turned completely. You're living in peace, while they're living in the aftermath of their choices. And that's not coincidence, it's karma. The same way they once made you feel invisible, they're now feeling unseen by the world. The same way they dismissed your worth, life is now dismissing theirs. They're surrounded by people, yet they feel empty. They're busy, yet unfulfilled. Because no matter what they achieve, the absence of your presence still lingers like a shadow that follows them everywhere. They're haunted because they now understand that losing you was not a small thing. It was a spiritual loss. They didn't just lose your company. They lost your prayers, your energy, your light, your faith in them. They lost the blessing that came with having someone like you in their corner. And once God removes a person of pure heart from someone's life, that person begins to feel it in every area, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. You were protection disguised as love, and now, without you, they're exposed to the very pain they once put you through. That's why their heart races when your name comes up. That's why they avoid certain places, certain songs, certain memories. Because you've become the ghost of their conscience, the one they can't silence, the one that reminds them what they threw away. They'll meet people, but no one will bring them peace like you did. They'll chase love, but no one will give it as purely. And deep down, they know. They can find replacements, but never restoration. Because once you lose someone chosen, someone sent, someone real, you don't just miss them. You mourn them. And that mourning, that eternal ache, is the panic they live with now. So now, while they wrestle with their conscience and chase peace they'll never find, you stand exactly where God intended you to be. Free. You didn't win through revenge, arguments, or exposure. You won through transformation. Your silence became your shield, your peace became your weapon, and your growth became your justice. They are haunted not because you punished them, but because you healed without them. They are panicking because they finally see that you were never the problem. You were the blessing they mishandled. Let them sit in the chaos they created. Let them taste the emptiness they once wished upon you. Because where they lost their peace, you found yours. Where they lost their way, you found purpose. And in that divine exchange you became untouchable. You no longer need them to recognize your worth. Life already has. The storm that was meant to destroy you became the very proof of your divine protection, and now their panic is the echo of their regret, while your calm is the sound of victory.